It was the first American frontier. It is a landscape, a culture, a frame of mind.
When you look within these hills, I see the people. These beautiful people who came from a variety of European traditions, who came seeking a vastness of freedom. Whether it was land opportunities or religious freedom, they came. They came and they carved out an existence.
Appalachia is good times and hard times. It is fiddle music and clogging in the face of a hungry child.
Holy cucumbers, I'll get up, old guitar, and here we go. Pick 'em up.
Appalachia is a flood of stereotypes. From the ignorant hillbilly to the heroic mountaineer.
We've been looked down upon, laughed at, scorned, made fun of, called hillbillies. And the people have here a steadfast faith. They're used to hard times.
Living kind of an isolated existence has a lot to do with the fact that Appalachian mountain people are so unique in their love of their fellow man and the way they treat their fellow man. They take care of each other.
If I was on some foggy mountain top, I'd sail away to the west. I'd sail all around this whole wide world to the girl I love the best.
Appalachia is story and song. It is music that beats like the heart of America.
If you want to go back to where the dignity and where the absolute blue blaze of the blueprint of country music is, it's in the inside of that old style of music.
Appalachian music is a rich, incredibly rich American heritage that we cannot afford to ignore it, you know. It's part of who we are.
In a land rich in culture and natural bounty, many people have suffered devastating poverty. How did this corner of America become such a portrait in contrasts?
The history of Appalachia is a history of an industrial people, of people helping to build modern America, but who failed to benefit from the work that they put in.
The region can be defined based on how people who had power and wealth been able to take the power and wealth and drain resources, coal, lumber, seeps out.
The land has been raped in a sense. There's been so much wealth here that's been taken out of the state and nothing has been left.
One of the real ironies is how we could experience the exploitation and the trauma of our development past and yet continue to survive so strongly as a culture, continue to thrive in terms of who we are as a people.
What we did have was a deep understanding of ourselves and our family. We may not have been mobile, we were not, but we were centered and we were grounded. And that's our gift to the rest of the nation.
This is the story of a land shaped by the people, and a people shaped by the land. The Appalachian mountain range is nearly 400 million years old.
This place is ragged and torn and rumpled. This landscape is one of the most ancient in the world.
For more than 1,500 miles, the chain snakes down from Canada through New York, Pennsylvania, and all of West Virginia. Large parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, Maryland, and the Carolinas are dominated by the rugged Alleghenies and Cumberlands, the soaring Blue Ridge, and the Great Smoky Mountains to the south. All these ridges, gorges, and valleys came to be known collectively as Appalachia, a region as mysterious as it was remote.
The mountain remains unmoved at its seeming defeat by the mist. Robert Penn Warren.
Early in the 17th century, a small number of Europeans began to explore and settle this great wilderness. But they were not the first to call Appalachia their home.
Appalachians today include many different kinds of people, but we need to remember that the first people in the Appalachian Highlands were the ancestors of today's American Indians. So the original Appalachians are in fact Native Americans.
Before the Europeans arrived, Appalachia was home to many Indian tribes. There were Shawnee, Choctaw, and Creek, but the dominant tribe was the Cherokee.
These were very complex cultures. They were grounded in a belief system that tied human beings to a particular place. Their view is that this is the land that was created for them, that this is the land where they belonged.
The Cherokee were mostly farmers, settled in villages and growing crops in the garden.
They were proud of who they were, but not only were they proud and very strong people, they were very intelligent. They call us a civilized tribe, which is fine, but they don't ever see us as being very warrior-like. You don't become part owner of 7 states by being meek and somewhat passive.
One surprise for the newcomers was the authority that women had in the matrilineal Cherokee society.
Women generally had control of the corn crop. That is, women had economic control of the staple of Cherokee life. Men lived in the households of their wives, and a man's heirs were his sister's children, not his own children.
If a man from one clan married a woman in another clan, then he joined her clan and their children became members of her clan. Older Cherokee women were quite often a part of the council, so women had a great deal of autonomy, and they lost that as they became acculturated into the European society.
Kinship was all important to the native people. If a member of one tribe was killed by a member of another, this was a cause for war.
But it was not war in the way that Europeans understood it or in the way that we understand it today. Southern Indians did not fight to conquer, to expand their kingdoms, or to inflict their own religion or ideology on other people. They went to war to avenge the death of kin.
The Cherokee saw people as either relatives or enemies, but tradition allowed them to bring outsiders into the tribe. Captives taken in battle would be adopted into a Cherokee clan. The same was done with black slaves who escaped into Cherokee country.
Some former slaves who escaped were treated as brethren, and they were able to become part of the tribe and dissipate over times of generation.
Many European traders managed to join the local tribe in another way, by marrying Cherokee women.
Even if you had been born a Greek, or you had been born an Englishman, or you had been born an African-American slave, once you were adopted into a Cherokee clan, you were a member of that clan and a Cherokee, and your children were going to be Cherokee. That is, race as Europeans came to understand it had very little meaning in 18th century Cherokee society.
For decades, Indians and traders lived in relative harmony on the Appalachian frontier, buying and selling goods and sharing the bounty of the land. But for many back in Europe, life was growing more and more oppressive. Open territory in the New World was very inviting to people seeking freedom, independence, and a piece of land to call their own.
They were a grim, stern people, strong and simple, swayed by gusts of stormy passion, the love of freedom rooted in their heart's core. They were of all men best fitted to conquer the wilderness and hold it against all comers. Teddy Roosevelt.
It was in the 1730s that the ancestors of today's Appalachians began streaming into the mountains. To escape hard times, they came from Germany, England, and Wales. But the group that would become most prominent in the mountains started their journey off the rugged coast of Northern Ireland.
Oh, the day I parted away from you, in sorrow, grief, oh, and trouble too. Oh, you gave to me, oh, the parting hand, and you wished me safe in old Cumberland land.
A bit of Irish history accounts for the Exodus. 100 years earlier, King James of England had grown tired of battling rebellious Scots in the lowlands. The king thought he could use the Scots as a hedge against the bothersome Irish. So he offered them free farmsteads in Ulster, in the north of Ireland.
What better thing to do than to get some of the borderland Scots, who were always giving you trouble, to go over and whoop up on the Irish.
So they took advantage of it, moved to Ulster, got farms, and they became known as Scotch-Irish.
For about 100 years, the Scotch merged with the Irish. They mixed their words, they mixed their phrases, they mixed their horse racing love. They took, in many ways, the best qualities of both people.
After a century in Ulster, the Scotch-Irish were suffering